At the moment, the operating environment is difficult for a lot of us. A lot of local authorities have been in a situation where they've faced massive cuts. 40% revenue funding reductions is quite common. We've ended up in a situation within sport and leisure in particular where we've been probably hit early on, which has created more difficulties, which has mean we've got to be creative in what we do and really justify and be clear to our key partners what it is we're there to do and why we do it and how we can support those wider outcomes. Cuts to funding, skill drain, numbers of senior staff leaving the leisure sector, which means that we need to provide that support to senior managers and new directors coming into service areas that perhaps they don't even know, haven't had any experience. So we've got a role and a duty to make sure that those people in those organisations can make as informed decision as possible and can see the benefits of what our services can offer. If we don't do that and if we just let it drift, the chances are we will be in a much worse position overall, and those wider outcomes, which we know we can support, won't be delivered on. It challenges us in terms of getting our partners and peers to understand what it is we're there to do and how we can support those wider agendas, whether it's public health, whether it's social inclusion, whether it's housing. We've got to position ourselves to be right at the heart of those agendas. People can see how relevant we are to them and how we can support them, rather than just exist for the sake of providing sport and leisure services. Engagement and commission is important because if we don't do that, we're not talking to the right people at the start with. They're ultimately making policy decisions and making decisions about where money is spent within either the local authority or within the wider funding environment or envelope that we all work in. We have to position ourselves at the heart or as close to the heart of those commissioners as we possibly can and influence directly their thinking about how we can support them. Commissioners are facing a range of challenges, not least their own shrinking budgets, but also looking to work collaboratively across their partner agencies. So if you look at the NHS and public health and looking to bring monies together. So trying to make that money work smarter and better is a massive challenge. And against that, you're working against major structural change that's happening in those organisations as well. So the pace of change that's happening, the scale of change, trying to reallocate resources in a completely different way to perhaps the ways have been done before, just makes it a real challenge to try and for them to try and work with us. We can have a huge role in supporting those wider outcomes, and we have to have conversations with each of the individual areas, whether it's housing, public health, regeneration, economic development, and our combined offer to those organisations in its collective form is hugely powerful and has this richness that not many other services have, but it means that we've got to work really hard at reaching out to those individual service areas to show the impact of what we can do. Ultimately, we can't just carry on being the services that we were in the past. We've got to look forward and change and adapt our services to be relevant to others and how they see us and how we can support their agendas. So it's not all about us drawing money in, and it's about making us much more relevant to those services. So I'll give you an example. If you can work closely with adult social care and relocate some of their care provision, daycare provision into your own facilities, then whilst it might not generate a huge amount of revenue, it actually makes your services much more relevant to that authority and secures its future, but also then builds bridges for other work that you might want to do with those same clientele. I guess one of the key stakeholders that we need to not forget about and make sure that we engage right the way through the process are the elected members and the senior officers within the council, chief exec, leader and executive members. If we don't keep those key individuals involved in the process, then there will be a lack of ownership and a lack of support and drive for the work you're trying to do. If you go to the Sport England website or if you go to the CLOA website, there'll be resource materials in there which shares the learning from the first 2 phases of the pilot programmes. There's a lot of rich learning in there, and there's a lot of key contacts if people wanted to follow up and talk to people who have been involved in the projects before. Just pick up a phone and talk to them.